What's up again, everybody? How's it going? You know, I've once again came out here to talk about something totally different, and then ended up having a different idea as soon as I start the video. I made a video earlier about reality, and how we perceive reality, and how I feel that people are using this idea that everything's an illusion as kind of a scapegoat to just say, well, nothing's real, therefore, what? It's a matter of utilizing things that we've learned to better ourselves. So if we find out that an experiment shows that reality is a little more complex, then, we adjust accordingly. But I decided to go and talk about along the lines of how we manifest our realities, how we create our realities in our minds, and about what's going on in the world. And this is something that everybody can relate to. What inspired me to start to talk about this in this video was that I had to sign into my email account. I have a Comcast email account. Every time I sign in, I have to go to the home page. So I'm forced to look at the headlines. And for a lot of people, that might not be a big deal. For me, I purposefully keep myself away from watching news sources on particular issues. I don't want to be tainted. I don't want to have their opinions. I don't believe any of the bullshit that I'm fed from the media. I do realize that it's what you would call the manufactured reality, the illusion, that we're showed merely, let me first say that I'm not going to say that we're shown what they want us to see. That seems to be a line of thinking. And I know that there is a lot of suppression of speech, and that certain stories are run as propaganda. But I also know that much of it, the other half of it at least, is the demands of the people. Because no amount of propaganda can be shoved down people's throats if they don't want to hear it. They'll just turn it off. So you have to keep them entertained. So between the propaganda that we hear on the news and the media, the various things, we get it intertwined and mixed in with truth. And therefore people just believe what they hear. And this is something that we see like I said, when I signed into Comcast and I looked at the page, there were 3 different stories that were on the front page there that I glanced at. I didn't read the articles, but all 3 of them were about celebrities. And you know what? Fuck celebrities. I'm sorry, but I don't understand how we have respect for people just because they're famous. And, I think one of them was a Kardashian thing, even. People that are famous for doing nothing. Now, if we're going to have real celebrities in this world, they should be people who are, altruistic, entrepreneurs who have helped out and assisted their people, or people who have invented something great or done something great. But we don't revere the right people. And it's really bothersome, because this is how instead of, it's easy for people to say that there's somebody else trying to suppress our knowledge, or somebody else trying to keep us down. But if we can't take the blame for our own stupidity, and our fellow man, the neighbors, which people would call them asleep, and I prefer not to use that term because that would assume that there's one particular thing a person needs to wake up to, or that there's some level a person reaches where they're awake. The only thing awake means to me is that you've seen that the bullshit you're being fed isn't the truth. And that shouldn't be something that's just a special thing that only a few people discover. It's something that you should discover as an adult. If you do any rational thinking whatsoever, you should learn that other adults are always trying to convince you of something being true. That anybody who uses the word truth is often using it for control, or to try to dominate another, or to try to gain something, or because they want to convince others that they are right. And then you get into relative truth, which some people take to another extent, where they think that, it doesn't matter what a person thinks, everything's fine the way it is. Neither one of these suit the problem. Neither one of these take care of the problem. And the problem is us. We as people need to stop feeding, when somebody online is a troll, in years past, the trolls started in, say, the 90s on some of the message boards, and it got worse over the years. People became really good at being trolls. There are people who do it for a living, more or less. That's their thing. They go online and they put an extreme comment to try to get a response. And over time, people figured this out, and they'll respond with something like, "Don't feed the trolls." And that's because the public has taken a responsibility to say, we're not going to put up with this kind of shit, and we're not going to give you our energy. Well, if we could do that same thing with the media and say we refuse to watch, you know, it's like people say they don't. You know, the reason why Donald Trump got so popular is obvious. You know, he's a rich man. He's an outspoken man. But more than that, he got like $1.5 billion worth of free airtime merely because of his belligerence and the things that he was saying. Because people love extreme things. If there's a war going on, it seems like people don't want to hear about that anymore. In the past, it was kind of exciting to see a war on TV, but you'll notice that when the Iraq War started, it quickly faded. And pretty soon they made it a point not to run any stories about what was going on over there. And that's to keep the people wondering what's going on with the real world on MTV, or keeping up with the Kardashians, or fucking wrestling. You know, I'm sorry, because I know, I'm very cautious when I say these, because I know that some people are really into these things. It's a distraction from having to educate ourselves, to watch fictional television that's presented as real television. And this is why reality television became such a popular thing. People figure, well, I'm learning. These are real people. You know, how long did it take people to realize that wrestling was fake? You know, I had friends when I was a kid that just did not believe that it was faked. You know, well, some of it is. Like, no, the whole thing's staged. Even at 10, I knew that. But there's people that don't. Well, many of the wars that have been staged for their sense of monetary income or positions of power, you know, people are told, hey, it was for this, and they'll say, oh, no, it's real. We really need to do this. And this goes on and on and on. You know, folks don't do the research to actually find out what the hell is going on in their damn world. And it's easy to get pissed off about it, but I don't let it get me down, because, you know, anger gets nowhere. And frustration, of course, I think that's a component that we can't avoid. I get frustrated, but I don't feel frustrated, because I know that detracts. That's a primal feeling. No, it's not a primal feeling. Anger is a primal feeling. Frustration is more of a modern feeling, because we've created a frustration by creating this society. But getting frustrated over things like the petty little things in life that we're worried about, you know, oh no, you know, I might not get this raise, or, you know, these are things that we need to live, you know, things like money, so they're important to us. But at the same time, if you step back and look at the big picture, sometimes it's like you hear that, you know, a good quote I heard was, you know, some people spend their whole lives working to get to the top of the ladder, and when they finally get there, they turn around and realize they're against the wrong wall. That's the perfect metaphor for where we're going. Society as a whole is just building and building and building, you know. If you show a city in fast motion and put intense music to it, it's going to seem, you know, crude and rough. You could take nature and speed it up and put the same music to it, and it's still going to appear beautiful. There are some things that are inherently natural, I guess. And the way that we're living, where we're idolizing other people, is not living. It's not what humanity should be doing. If we're going to idolize anyone, it should be the people who have actually contributed to this world. But that opens up a whole line of speculation about what do you consider a contribution. You know, one of the most difficult things I think for us to overcome is our difference in opinion as far as thinking that what we're doing is for the right reasons. You know, if we think that we need to close our borders and build a wall between here and Mexico and deport Muslims, you know, there's people who believe that that would be a solution to the problem that we have with our economy. Now, this is due to the fact that they're told this. Merely by looking at the actual statistics and evidence, you can see that there's a little bit of truth mixed in with the nonsense, which, you know, distracts us from the real issues that are going on. Where is the money going? Why are people broke? Why are they angry? Well, it's because there's, you know, trillions of dollars in offshore accounts, you know, that's being stripped out of your pockets constantly by corporate greed and land rape. And the real monsters always get away with their crimes, and then have to point the finger at someone. You notice there's always a scapegoat. You know, for every assassination, shooting, every you know, terrorist attack, anything that happens, it's never just because society's fucked up. It's always because somebody else is out to get us. You know, I think realizing that and seeing the truth in that is important. But as individuals, there's only so much we can do. You know, we can educate ourselves as much as possible and try not to be swayed by what we're shown and what we're told. But there's the old rubbernecking syndrome, or the can't look away syndrome. You know, it's like people say, it's like horrible things are like, there's something about it, you can't look away. It's like seeing something disgusting. You want to look at it, but you don't. And I think that's because we're curious. And it's okay, you know. So instead of pointing the fingers at the world or at other cultures or races or saying it's Muslims or Mexicans, blacks or whites, maybe we could just say it's people, it's us, it's those who choose to buy into the nonsense and to buy into the propaganda. So shame on us, you know, but it's not just us, it's everyone. Because if you say us and them, it's separating all humans. Everybody goes home, fucking takes the same, gets naked, takes the same shower, has the same issues, the same shortcomings, feelings about themselves. You know, there's nobody out there that's really, you know, that's really the illusion that they put out there. So, anyway, there's just some thoughts I wanted to get out. So, there they are.